for joining the second Innovators Breakfast. This is an event for us to host. One, because it just connects people from around the world, and that's the first and foremost part of this, the purpose of this meeting. It doesn't have a fixed agenda, it's not a sales call, it's just an opportunity for like-minded innovators from around the world to connect and have an interesting conversation. I normally start by just doing a quick whip around the room, let people say hi, introduce themselves. Nothing too structured. I mean, on board you can see that we've got sections there for you to put your kind of profile down. But I mean, again, don't want to overlinger this, and don't want it to be too fast. So in a nutshell, I'll go first. I'm Dan. I'm the founder of INSO, co-host of the Good Ideas Club podcast. And I love connecting the dots for people, and I love creating opportunities and having conversations and seeing where things go. My favorite innovation at the moment is a like a vegetation canopy that I've seen are emerging around cities, which not only are good for the environment, they make the cities look greener. It's just a good way to bring nature back into urban environments. So that was something that caught my eye, and I'm keeping a close eye on and seeing how they hopefully pop up in cities all around the world. My least favorite innovation remains voice notes, because I just find them utterly annoying to listen to, and they take doubly long to say the message. And there's no nuance for conversation, so voice notes are a big no for me.
So to jump in, I'd probably say voice
Yeah.
notes are not that bad of an innovation because I mean you get tone out of it and you get to waffle on for as long as you want, right? So, but on a serious note, I'd probably say there's these really cool speed bumps that I saw recently in Sweden, I think, where essentially it's flat and based on the speedometer, it adjusts the angle. So you essentially don't have to slow down if you're actually going the speed limit, which is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I'm also one of the founders of INSO and co-host of the Good Ideas Club. And yeah, so we got a really exciting one dropping today actually, which is two authors of a new book that's being released. But yeah, to jump straight into it, Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I know Alex well, and I've followed the INSO story and listened to the podcasts. But yeah, I have to say I'm new to innovation. I'm very involved in developing social enterprises in South Africa. So I'm learning a lot. I've got one specific one which is really developing a data center in rural South Africa as a means for job creation, and we're starting to look at innovative ways that we can take work to those guys without removing them from their home. So that's a really exciting project. But yeah, just loving the ideas that are shared, and yeah, networking is basically, yeah, I look for new ideas and I look to connect people. So that's what I do.
I'm glad we can help. Do you want to ping someone else, Joe? Select someone else to
Oh,
give an
bring
intro.
someone else. Owen. Or not. Or Dasha.
Yeah, someone else jump in.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that, Joe. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dasha. I'm founder of DACO Coaching, is a learning and development boutique for businesses. I do learning and development strategy. I do webinars. I do master classes. I do coaching, mentoring, everything for people development. I usually work with companies which are 50 to 1,000 employees approx. And right now, what I'm doing, one of my exciting projects, I'm developing a course, which is Future Ready Leadership with AI for Rising Leaders. So guys, if you are into leadership or AI and you would like to contribute and you would love to chat, please send me a message and I would love to connect. So I'll try to keep it short, and now I need to pick a person. Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Hey, and I'm picking Tom.
Thank you,
Hey,
Dasha. Great to learn about you. My name's Tom. I've recently connected with Dan on LinkedIn, who invited me to this event. Thank you very much. It's really exciting to be here. I am from the other island, so I'm from the island of Jersey, which is next to Guernsey. And I run a creative digital agency over here. So we help our clients with branding, strategy, websites, video. We like to think that we sort of innovate every day on behalf of our clients. As well as that, I've also got a few other business ventures that, yeah, I'd love to tell you more about in the future. So it'd be great to connect with you all. And yeah, just delighted to be here with everyone today. I will pick over to you, Cameron.
Hi all, I am the founder of the Orbital Locker Company. We build construction blocks for space stations, ultimately space Lego. You can build in space using bricks like we do down here, but we have a whole product suite in development. So we've got about 8 or 9 different products that we're going to be debuting over the next year and a half. So dealing with space debris collection. So we've got an autonomous drone. I call it the space jellyfish. Basically biomimicry, copying nature using the mechanics of a jellyfish to go and collect a load of space debris in orbit. We're also developing a recycling module to recycle the space debris in orbit and general space stations, so we can put them around the moon, Mars, the asteroid belt. Because it's all operated and built from a central location and built via autonomous drones, you can position these facilities anywhere in the solar system. So this is where we change from currently in space, we have satellites that observe the Earth. This is where we move to start doing things in space. So that's what and I've got about 100 engineers working with me to get all these projects off the ground. And we are looking to debut our early prototype of the ore block by the end of this year.
Wow, it's incredible. Love to learn more about that.
Very complicated.
Who's next?
I don't know. Lewis?
Yeah, happy to go next. So hi, all, I'm Louis. I've been my background is quite interesting. So I won the Young Entrepreneur Award in Guernsey in 2022. That led on to me being involved in the local network called TechX, which I know Dan kindly introduced as I was joining the call. That's with the guys at Potting Shed. So I know Tom, there's a good chance you know Ed Prow. So I work heavily with him and the guys there. So that's a subset of that. And what TechX is it's across Guernsey, Jersey, and also we've got some links in London where we connect all interesting, innovative individuals, whether that's in government, whether that's local businesses. We help, really early stage funding. So that tends to be pre-seed. And so to get all these interesting ideas off the ground, in addition to helping white papers and government to get, they come to us for our network, and we've got a 300, 400 strong WhatsApp group. So in addition to that, I work for BDO. So my professional sort of job is I'm a qualified accountant. So I work as a manager in their management consulting business and helping individuals go through all the relevant finance stuff that happens in the Channel Islands, both in Guernsey and Jersey, whether that's AML, CFT, systems implementation, banking stuff, all relevant sort of finance business. And then in addition, I'm involved in, I'm a director on one of the AI startups in the hospitality industry, and that's based out of London. So quite a few things going on, and I'm really liking all this different sort of innovative people on this call, from space all the way to brands and things like that. So I'll hand back to Dan to pick somebody.
I think we've got Habiba next.
Morning, everyone. My name is Habiba Nazim, and it's so nice to meet all of you. You guys sound so amazing, and I definitely would love to connect with each and every one of you. I am the founder of BIC, Baraka Infused Career Coaching, and I am a qualified leadership coach as well as a senior project manager. And I think what I've gathered from a lot of the conversations and the introductions that you've just explained is there's a lot of about connecting people and connecting with people and new innovation ways of working. And I think that's where my role plays a pivotal part of how we lead in connecting people, how we bring people along on the journey. And that's what BIC is all about, how we can train people to have people skills, emotional intelligence skills, and leadership skills in order to kind of share the dream and bring them along the journey.
Incredible. I think Pierre's got to go.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Pierre-Christophe Poyot. I work as a strategy coach and executive facilitator. And so what I do is I facilitate long-term strategy enablement programs over the course of 6 to 18 months, mainly for SMEs and so small and medium-sized businesses and NGOs. So I help their leadership teams to continuously shape and execute strategy. To gain focus, sharpen their focus, gain clarity, and amplify their impact. And yeah, I run this in sprints, in workshop sessions, and of course, innovation is tightly coupled to strategy. So I'm very keen to learn more about you, about your toolkits, and so forth. Happy to exchange.
Awesome.
And
I think Owen's the only one I think that I'm aware of who hasn't gone.
Morning, guys. I'm so my background's in funds and private equity. For the last couple of years, I was running my own consultancy, helping the fund industry and Guernsey specifically to improve processes and procedures across the business, as well as relationship management. I'm now working for a company called Altum. I've come in and pretty much doing the same sort of stuff. Currently, they're a growing company. They're expanding pretty quick, and so new systems, new services, and I'm kind of part of the process on delivering the new business development side. One thing, I attended the Guernsey Funds Forum yesterday, actually, and we had Hannah Fry was the closing keynote speaker. And one cool innovation part of the talk was that they've been studying the link between AI and animals, and how the way that the AI is structured is similar to the way that animals think, and their background in terms of how they behave and how they respond to things. And so the connection they made, which one part I thought was really interesting, was so with a herd of elephants, they're known to really not like bees. And they were basically trying to work out whether there was a way that they could communicate between each other, and whether they had like names for each other. And what they figured out was that, and using AI, they figured out that elephants and a lot of other animals actually do have words that they use. And one thing that kept coming up was the fact that they all make the same noise when they hear bees. And so they recorded the elephants and noticed that they literally have a word for bees, as well as they each have their own name that they use to call. So whenever they're communicating, like whenever you hear like elephants making a sound, there's actually probably a reason for that sound. And they're pretty much like, whether they're saying that to a friend or whether they're saying that to tell them there's bees around, it kind of works. The way that it all linked together was in the same process as the way that we use generative AI, and how it's used in, like, whether it's in businesses or the way that we're teaching the models. Yeah, so that was something that I learned yesterday, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, cheers. Thanks for sharing, Owen. And so is anyone else on the call that I've missed who wants to give an intro? No, great. Well, I just build on Owen's point. That's fascinating. My mind was sparked to the video I saw about Gibberlink, which is an AI to AI language, which when they're talking to each other like that, we have no idea what they're saying. That's an interesting dilemma for us. Anybody else want to build on Owen's point or the Gibberlink point? Any AI experts in the room?
Well, we deal with a lot of AI, AI and machine learning, because we're doing a lot of autonomous drones and whatnot. And there are a few other products that we've got in development that require AI-driven processes. AI isn't it's just nowhere near as good as you think it is. AI is functionally useless. You really need to train AI an awful lot before you can get it anywhere you want it to be and where you need it to be. I mean, where they use AI to train to identify sort of elephant communication, all animals communicate. It's not a new concept. All animals have to communicate in order to function as a given species. because like when two tigers come near each other, although they're solitary creatures, they still have a way of communicating with each other. So within species, there's always going to be a communication, and between species, if you've got a threat, you know how to let your other um, creatures know that that's a particular threat. So when it comes to the AI assessing that, that's a really focused and very specific single task approach for AI. You can't generalize any of that, which is what gets quite frustrating because what I'm doing, I have to go through steps of using several different AIs, and then I have to use more AI systems to check all of the data that's come out of those AIs. So getting to a point where the AI is really good at identifying one key piece of information takes an awful lot of work and an awful lot of time. And it can get very good at that key task, but it's just it's not going to be a great solution to many problems unless we can massively increase our power output. We need to switch to nuclear power. There's no way we're going to deal with the AI compute um, problem with our current power systems and the data centers that are going to need to be built. I know Guernsey's starting to get into data centers, but I'm in conversations with um, different. Like, I can't discuss who I'm in conversations with, but you're talking a $1 trillion budget for data centers in orbit. That's what that's the level that we're talking. AI is going to be extremely limited in the next few years as we run into this problem of compute and power requirements. So yeah, AI, brilliant for very specific tasks, but generally going like long term, it still needs so much more before it can be considered what we want it to be.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
don't expect AI to be replacing jobs. It really isn't going to do that, but it is very good as an assistant, as something as to support you within your role and what you're doing.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a bit of a. I don't know if it's a plateau yet, but there's definitely a kind of almost like an AI fatigue that I'm picking up on just by monitoring chats and people online. And I mean, I've certainly felt it. You know, there's a million and one tools already to use, and you can't possibly keep up with them all. And quite frankly, a lot of them are underwhelming in terms of the results they produce. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But I don't want this call to be dominated by AI because that seems to be the thing that everyone's talking about at the moment. So I mean, I wanted this session to be have a loose theme, which is something that I think Pierre and I kind of briefly spoke about. I know it crosses over some of the conversations and work at Dasha. I wanted to discuss how leaders can create the environment for innovation to thrive. Because for me, it's so important to be in the right frame of mind to innovate, to being creative as an individual. That's such an individual thing. And so much of what we're doing and the people on this call, you know, are either working with lots of different teams or managing teams directly themselves. And I think that there's such a important leadership element to creating an environment of psychological and physical safety for people to innovate, be creative, and be okay with failure and learning. So I kind of wanted to throw out two questions to the group and just ping out any answers. No kind of formalities. Just go. This is a dynamic conversation. But like, I'd like to know like what's the most inspired you've ever felt at work, and equally what's the least inspired you've ever felt at work, and maybe let's start to unpick why you particularly felt so strongly in those experiences.
Oh, I know,
Right,
I definitely got this one. Um,
go.
Right. Okay. I've got two points very specifically. For 3 years, I've been building this business, and it was just me on my own. Last year in October, I got someone who wanted to join the business. Well, I've not got investment yet, so it's I can't pay them. So, but he decided that he'd help and join me as a volunteer, and he's got 20 years experience designing cameras for satellites. So I thought, brilliant. And a few weeks later, he then sent me a CAD design of the ore block, and I stopped. I just paused for a moment what I was doing just to look at the CAD design because all of a sudden everything I'd been doing for 3 years had just started to become real, and I could see it. And it galvanized me, and all of a sudden I went into overdrive, and all of a sudden, because I could see the progress, I started working a lot harder. And over the last 6 months, the company has made substantial progress. Yesterday, I got a video from one of my guidance and navigation engineers, and he sent me a video of a prototype attitude determination system. So for the actual facility that we're going to be building, we now have the actual computer system that controls its orientation in orbit. This is a physical working prototype, an actual piece of equipment that is going to be used in space as part of my design. And seeing that video yesterday just filled me with awe. And I am itching to get as much done as fast as I possibly can, all because they just showed me that little bit of progress. That's that's all you need. The progress is the motivation. Each step, as long as you are constantly moving, that's what makes the difference. It's when you stop and stagnate, you start to question, you start to second guess and everything. That's when it all collapses. So
Nice.
I would say,
Aviva, you've got your hand raised?
Yeah, I just want to come back to follow on what Cameron said about that motivation. And I think from my project management experience, you have to really believe in your project. You have to believe in that technology or whatever transformation piece that you have to offer. Believe it, understand it. It's like the understanding that you need to carry, it has to be bulletproof, because you're going to have critics and all these myth busting you're going to have to do because of the transformation work. So there is this element of believing in your product, studying your product, and being courageous enough to take the criticism and come back and redesign, go back to the drawing board. And I think one thing about leadership when it comes to these kind of really transformation piece of work that I've experienced is when you need to be in a room of like-minded people. You being the only motivator doesn't help. And sometimes have been in a room where everybody's the cynical critic, but once you connect with that one person, and something that Prince teaches you, project management and other project management tools teach you, is that test and learn. Sometimes you have to like have a little prototype, test and learn, in order to kind of get that agreement from the rest of the group of what this innovation looks like and what it could do for you. And there is a lot of little delegating, there's a lot of hand holding, but all in all, I think as long as you can vision the end goal and you can be brave enough to kind of really break it down, repeat, and explain to people what that end goal is, that's when the motivation kind of spreads across the room like wildfire and everybody's on it. And then it really, really helps you drive that delivery.
That's great. I mean, there's a few hands up. I mean, I don't need to coordinate this. It's just a conversation. So just jump in, guys. Just roll with it. I think Dasha, Pierre, they both got points. So go.
Can
sorry
you hear
guys,
me,
I gotta
guys?
go.
Because I'm using. Okay, Cameron, I was just about to say that well done, and I really celebrate you for the progress. And it's really, really important to see the progress from the world.
Thank
on
you.
your
Really
product.
sorry. I've got to get the kids to
Thanks,
school.
Cameron.
Cheers. Sorry, guys.
Have fun. Cheers. Bye bye. So yeah, and to what Habiba is saying, I think it's really, really important, A, to have a goal, and B, start building MVPs, minimum viable products, because that was my mistake. I was building the whole world and I didn't know my milestones. So it happened to me that I ended up being those huge, complicated projects, and they were failing, right? So I think we need to go baby steps. Of course, we need to have the end goal in mind, but we need to go baby steps. Okay, step number one, we're doing analyzing, readjusting, retesting, asking feedback, and moving on. So it's really, really, really having that in mind will help a lot. Talking about psychological safety, basically, then what you were asking, what was my best experience is when people trust me and people let me do my job. right? And of course, there are boundaries because they just can't say, okay, go do whatever you want. There are certain requirements, there are certain goals, there are certain timelines. But basically, yes, you have check-ins, but you have a huge amount of trust. And my former boss, I actually I was a speaker at an event, and I dedicated my speech to her, and to one phrase that she told me. She said, "I'm always in your corner, no matter what. If you will fail," we were in different countries, so we had a huge time zone difference. So sometimes I had to step in and speak for both of us and for our department. And in order to give me this courage, she said, "I'm always in your corner. You will make mistake, I'm with you. You will mess up, I'm with you. I will celebrate you, and I will be there for you when times will be tough." So that's my 2 cents. All righty, Pierre, you want to go next?
Yes, I can. Thanks,
Then
Dasha.
answering your job, sorry.
Fine.
So I would add something. If I remember times when I felt most inspired, it was when I did qualitative research and got the time for it. So when my leaders said, look, take this time to just get to know the real issues here and do some qualitative research. This creates a lot of stories in my mind, like through associated thinking. And then I think also creating space for creativity is essential from leadership perspective. Creating space means time, a room, a format, whatever, but something where people can systematically execute creativity. So it doesn't just happen by accident. You need sometimes some structure or some, some occasion for it, or to explore an opportunity in depth. And then I think also when we don't satisfy with a few or just one solution or one possibility, but when we try to generate more alternatives, more best options in a way that we can have free choice, and then creativity sparks, and I feel more inspired, because then you can suddenly connect different ideas, and melt them together and forge something new. And this is where I felt most inspired in my past. And this is also what I try to create in my workshops, of course. But yeah, there is some leadership like stance for this, that you must invest into this space, in creating this space and taking a leap of faith. And then I think what happens is that I can just second what you said, Habiba. I think you mentioned believe in it. So having courage to take decisions. And in order to gain more confidence and more courage, I follow Roger Martin's question, what would have to be true for a possibility to work? So that people gain confidence over time to check, to test their assumptions in a systematic way with logic. And this way, emotions, so this emotional buying process can be combined with logic, which is pretty powerful, I think. That's my 50 cents.
Sorry, I'm just going to raise it to £1 now. So, when I was launching my business, Big, I was a bit confused because I don't have a business background. And so I leaned into a business mentor kind of thing. And when I pitched my business to him, and he was so happy to help me as long as I pay him X amount of money. But in his tone, I could see he didn't believe in me. And he was already cutting it. And he was like, oh, you know what, especially because I wear hijab and I'm Muslim, you should speak to the sisters, you should speak to the women. And I was like, no, it's for everyone. So when you, like you were saying, Pierre, like to have that time to be given to innovate, to work, to have those like little workshops with people to explore, you need that backing from your leaders, that they believe in you to go away and to build something beautiful or something amazing. And when you have mentors or people who are in your support circle who don't believe in what you believe in, it's really hard to get to the next level. So I think in leadership is, if we are delegating people time and space to innovate, we need to believe that they are going to come up with something amazing, and we need to give them that space. So there is that bit of trust that Dasha was pointing at before.
I think like one thing I see is that everyone is so caught up in individual, got to get stuff done. It's almost the places I've worked at, I've almost seen carving out time, as you guys have discussed, for creativity, and it seems to be almost like a waste of time. Like even the workshops themselves, we had some of our clients say, "Yeah, but I still want to get a useful day out of my staff, so let's just run a half day session so that they can get a full day's work." And I'm like, the development that you're putting into your people by giving them that space is only going to improve them later on down the line. Again, is that just my experience, or is this kind of, is creativity seen as a kind of inefficient use of time from a leader who's trying to drive immediate results from their team?
Dan, I think
From the old-fashioned
100%.
yeah, I would be inclined. I think it's a bit both. I mean, I've experienced the very corporate world, particularly in COVID, and I think that that's quite a poignant point to bring up, because I think that's where we saw a massive shift in working types and how people work in just in general. I experienced it from a trainee accountant perspective, where I could have benefited of actually being in the office and actually sitting next to somebody and learning how to go through TB and accounts and complicated accounting questions. That then suddenly changed overnight when we're in lockdown. Everybody's working from home, and then particularly in the corporate world, everybody then just goes into silos, right? So they just worry about their own deliverable, and they're just wanting to process, because they just saw, particularly during the first stage of lockdowns in 2020, I've got X amount of work on my plate. I want to get that off. That's me. Then I get my time back, without then giving back to innovation or thought to team building, team networking, because all that just came completely out the window. And I think over the last 3-4 years, we're slowly getting back to that now. We just haven't got back to that yet, because obviously people are working their own sort of dynamic timings, and not necessarily, nobody's on in a structured approach, right? And I think when you're trying to create a team, particularly a team environment, you want to make sure you understand everybody's nuances, whether that's, and you work on the lowest common denominator, whether that's, somebody who struggles with PowerPoints, then you're going to work on their speed. If they struggle with deliverables, you're going to work on their speed. If they're struggling with public speaking, then you need to make sure you invest in those people. So I think we need to find a way where it's more dynamic to enable the time to go, right, okay, we need to use this time to innovate because the client needs a solution that I don't currently have. So I need to move to a different team or bring those conversations in. That's sort of my experience. But I know, Dasha, sorry, I heard you also trying to speak.
No, no
I'll allow
problem.
you to jump in.
Don't worry about that. I actually want to build up on your point, because I think when there is a big threat, especially a threat to life, as COVID was, there is a tendency to shift from collectivistic to individualistic, right? So everyone suddenly started worrying about themselves. Okay, do I have enough time? What about me? And even if I have more time, I will spend it for my own projects, because we don't know what will happen, right? Right now, unfortunately, I still see that people are not investing in training because they just don't see value, and people don't carve this time for creativity. I was one of the lucky ones, because my boss did carve time for me when I was in corporate. It was actually part of the goal setting. Because for us, we were like, the company has goals, it cascades into the departments, it cascades into the teams, and then it cascades into the individuals. And we always had a couple of hours in a week for our personal goals. And then in one-to-ones, we were discussing, okay, so what are your personal goals? You want to have more confidence in public speaking, or what is that? And it doesn't have to be super related to the company, but there should be a link so that they feel valued, they have a feeling of belonging, and they feel that they are developing their personality, which is linked somehow to company goals, if that makes sense, guys.
I feel like
I mean,
creativity
Alex,
is very much a luxury of, again, as you say, a functioning based company, right? Like you have to have the underlying sense of purpose and drive and autonomy, right? Because ultimately, again, then people fall into but I've got, like, selfishly, I've got this amount of work to do. I also think there's a degree of just the shorter and more certain the feedback loop is, the more likely it is to be done. Like the age-old dilemma of urgency versus important, right? Like, yes, important might move the company forward, but if you just got an urgent email that needs to be responded to, you feel busy the whole time, but you're not actually optimizing towards long-term progress. So I feel like creativity is largely the same because you also don't really have an end goal. Unlike logical things, kind of tasks, very easy to steam through and feel like you're making progress. But with creativity, it's very dynamic and you don't actually know where you're going to end up.
But I got a point here as well, because it's I always find like, I consider myself and INSO to be a creative company, and yet I'm trying to think here, how much time do we actually carve out for genuine creativity beyond beyond the delivery of that? So I'm someone who owns a creative agency. And do you find genuine time for creativity for yourself, or is it all kind of, are you caught into the business of it all? And
Yeah, it's probably one of the trickiest things running a creative agency is actually the balance between having clients, deadlines, demands, and people kind of wanting creativity on demand and actually being able to carve out enough time to come up with the best solution for your clients. So there's a huge sort of pull and push between trying to get the result in the right time with the right resources and actually having enough time to be able to do that. So yeah, leading a creative team, I think over the years, from my experience, it's really important that the creative team do have time outside of client work to do that learning and development. But also, I think what unites us is that we all have a shared vision. So we all kind of are working towards the same goal. We all know the standard of output that we're trying to achieve together. And I work with marketeers, I work with designers, creatives, I work with developers. And I think it's, as a leader, it's understanding each individual and how they work as well, because each person will approach a creative project in a different way. So it's understanding each individual and how they approach things, because I think everyone is, no one's not creative. Everyone can be creative in their own way. It's just working out what motivates them, how they can really get into their flow of being creative. So yeah, it's been really interesting running an agency over sort of the last 7-8 years because everyone's got their own approach. It's just making sure that everyone's got the same sort of values and aligned vision. But sometimes how you get to the end result is different depending on individual people.
Mm.
I've one point to add regarding corporations and leadership. So what I've seen is that people get promoted for execution and not for decision making, not for creativity, not for strategy. So this is why clarity often fades away, and I call this the execution bias. And this is also when I shifted careers from making things more efficient towards what are we actually doing and why a couple of years back. So when I realized, but both this and most of the times it's a different skill set you need, and it's a different attitude, optimizing versus so exploiting versus exploring, right? So I think we in companies the exploring muscle, let's say, isn't often trained very well on a wider range for more people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Joe, you wanted to, yeah,
Yeah,
go for it. I saw
I
you.
can never remember where to find the raise the hand button. So I mean, I work for myself, so I don't really work in a company, but going back to Dan's question about what inspires one, and I would say I spend a lot of time, I sometimes can see connections between organizations really, and it just makes sense to me. And I find that the leaders who I'm able to work with are those that have an innovative team. So those who have a big picture and an outlooking, they will see the connect really quickly. And generally, if you go in and look at their teams, they're the ones that make time for the team itself to innovate. And if the project's launched, then I get to spend time with a lot of different teams. And it's, to me, it's an absolute, the ones who have innovative teams, the ones who make the time to talk to each other, who allow the teams to participate, are generally the leaders who see the connects really quickly. I don't know. I mean, that's just and that really inspires me, is when you've got people, if you've got an outward looking non-silo leader, as I like to call them, generally, if you go down and look at their teams, they're the ones that make the time to do this.
No, I mean, it's
Yeah.
awesome, guys. We've got 2 minutes left on the call, so I mean, the conversation's fantastic. But I'll start to kind of wrap it up. I mean, one other thing that I was kind of that Tom's contribution sparked in my mind was authentic creativity, because of course, and Tom's probably got the biggest pressure on this, because as a creative agency, you need to constantly be on your game, right? And we all know that sometimes in life you feel more creative than others, and again, kind of like in the vein of being a leader and creating space for creativity, I think there's another element to this about not expecting results. I think it has to just be space that has no pressure almost. I don't know, Tom, do you find that when there's the pressure, you humans, kind of rise to the occasion and create better, or is it got to be authentic and genuinely authentic?
I think it does depend on the individual, but I also do think deadlines sometimes do push you towards getting a result, and sometimes you have to be creative within the timeline you've got. So you might not get to the perfect result within that timeline, but it actually does, I think having a deadline and working towards that, it does actually sometimes force you to think of other ideas or other ways of doing things to get to the objective you're trying to achieve. So I think having some form of deadlines or sprints or short timelines to work towards sometimes does actually help you, because you'll then have to be creative within the constraints that you've been given. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. But I
Well,
think
I think
if I ask my creative team or my designers, I think they continue perfecting and creating and tweaking almost endlessly, and always make something slightly better and elevate it each iteration. But yeah, sometimes in the industry you do have a timeline and a budget and things to work towards, so you have to just do the very best you can within the constraints you're working within.
Well, I think I'd like to wrap up on Dash's point then, that chasing perfection and a whole solution is really the best way to proceed, and you have to break it into bite-sized chunks, and you have to prototype it and build the MVP and just go, right, and iterate. I mean, and that might spark the best solution in the long run, and you just iterate on top of those things. So I mean, that's our time, guys, and thank you so much for the conversation. There are a few questions in the chat. I know, Owen, you're being asked about company incorporations by a space company, so that's pretty cool. I'd connect with Cameron and have a chat. I know you offer that service because you helped INSO. Thank you so much for joining. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Hopefully you've been inspired. And again, if there are any questions or follow-ups or just ideas, just chuck them my way or reach out to people in the group. And welcome to the INSO community for anyone who's new to this. We'll be hosting these every month, so I'll push out the next event's details, and I'll message you all separately. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys, for organizing.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye.